One.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Fastball Sports Network Wrestling Podcast. And I am Frank. I am here with Mark. Mark, how are we doing?
I'm well. Just hanging out. I watched. What would you call that SmackDown? I'd say decent.
Yes, we are. For those of you that don't know, we are picking up right after SmackDown. It is 10:15 here on the East Coast, so we are ready to dive into it. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good SmackDown. Nothing to write home about, but definitely a good from a week-to-week basis.
There were a few things I didn't like that I voiced my displeasure to you via text, but no.
And I'm actually going to let you sound off. I just need you to wait 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So today it is November 6th. So Election Day.
Liam's birthday.
What's that?
Liam's birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday to our good friend Liam, who will probably not watch this.
Continue.
But Tuesday was Election Day here in the States. For those that are watching not from the States, if we have any viewers do we even have any viewers in the States? We don't know. There's going to be someone outside of the States. Anyway, so I thought we'd do a nice little Election Day, or, well, not really Election Day. Me and you are going to debate some things in the latter part of this show.
Sure, yeah.
In honor of the presidential candidates debating. And I fully believe that you and I can come to a more reasonable agreement than they ever could. So
you didn't think you had to tell me this beforehand to give me a little bit of like?
Nope. I was just going to throw it on you. I don't really have any answers to my questions either. I just kind of wrote them up a few minutes before the show to try and make it as fair as possible.
Sure.
But yeah, we're just going to dive into it. But let's start, I guess, with the most recent thing. We usually go Raw to SmackDown, but I know you're itching to talk about SmackDown. I'm going to let you take the lead. Talk about whatever you want to talk about on SmackDown, and then I'll pick up the pieces when you're done, because I do have a whole thing written out here. But go ahead.
All right, take the lead. You want me to start from the beginning of the show? Or you want to just like go?
Start from your beef. Just start from your beef. We can touch on the rest. It doesn't matter. We don't.
Well, I mean, it's obviously that the Seth Rollins thing is still going on. The Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, Buddy Murphy, Aaliyah, and I hate that I can see what's going to happen before it's going to happen. Tell you it's going to happen. I was half wrong, which was good. I was half wrong with the second part.
You were half wrong.
But you see Ray fighting Corbin, and it's just like I didn't know Ray was clear. I thought Ray was still hurt. He hasn't really fought.
I also thought that as well. I was surprised.
To me, I saw that happening. I was like, all right, Dominic's going to take his spot and like wrestle Corbin in his place. So that makes a lot of sense. It didn't happen. They just had like the hurt Ray wrestle Corbin, and Seth comes out to watch. Seth runs out, starts beating up Dominic at one point. Ray runs over, beats up Seth, and then Murphy and Aaliyah just walked out. I didn't really think there was a need for that. Like, I didn't really. Did you see like a point in that where they just kind of walked out, like put their hands up, like what's going on? Like,
yeah, this segment is kind of messy.
Beforehand, when Corbin jumped him, Ray's like pacing around trying to call up Aaliyah. Like, I haven't heard from her all day. It's like
the Corbin jumping him thing was so unnecessary to the whole thing, because Mysterio was gonna lose anyway. Like, he was gonna lose by distraction from Rollins anyway. So like the Corbin jumping him in the beginning, I thought that was so funny and so unnecessary. But you know what? It is what it is. I hope that this is drawing to a conclusion, because it feels like it's just going on forever.
No, it's not.
We say it every week, and like it doesn't look close to done.
Murphy's like realigning himself as Seth, and like we know it's not real. Like we know he's just like playing him, but like this has at least a month left, at least, of him like going back inside of Seth's like inner circle, and like at least a month of the storytelling until Buddy eventually turns on him for a second time, and they have to have that big ultimate blow-off match. And it still might not be over, because then Ray still has to fight Seth. It's never going to end. But Seth got onto the team for Survivor Series, which is really important.
That's actually a great segue. Let's talk about the men's SmackDown Survivor Series team. How do you think it's shaping up? We've got Kevin Owens. We got now the new addition, Seth Rollins and King Corbin, and of course, Jey Uso. You like the team?
I told you beforehand, like, I think Otis is going to win this match because of a distraction, but we really need Seth on this team. Like, just looking at Team Raw, like, you can't get away with Corbin, Otis, and Jey Uso. Like, I know Jey Uso has been like more a prominent role lately, but he's like at best a mid-carder in terms of just how he's portrayed. I know at the moment it's not the case, but like you still think of him in that light.
When you see Sheamus on the other team and you say like, okay, Jey Uso has to live up to that, like that has to be his competition on the Raw team. You look at Sheamus and you're like, all right, well, from the things we know about Sheamus, former world champion, And we're gonna actually go into Sheamus. I want to talk about Sheamus when we get to Raw. But former world champion, multiple time world champion, multiple time tag team champion like Jey Uso. You look at Sheamus, you're like, yeah, they have a little bit of an edge there if we're like
Yeah.
comparing. We're not doing WWE creative things, but not crazy. But you're right. I do see a little bit of an edge for the Raw team, and we don't know who this fifth member is going to be.
For SmackDown, you're saying?
Yeah.
Is Raw a fifth member, or is it four for Raw also?
Raw also has 4. The Raw team is Sheamus, AJ Styles, Keith Lee, and Braun Strowman.
Okay.
Which, I mean, those 4, like I said, Sheamus is probably the quote unquote weakest link of that team right now.
Yeah.
And he has multiple world championships to his name. So, I mean, the Raw team is really stacking up well, which is good. We want to see the best people on the Raw men's team, right? We want to see the best of the best. That's literally how they're labeling this pay-per-view. It's the best of the best. The only night of the year where Raw and SmackDown collide in head-to-head battle, whatever.
All right, Frank, I have a question for you that's kind of been like, I don't know, alarming to me, but like I've definitely like caught my eye. So last week, Corey Graves sat down in the middle of the ring with Lars Sullivan and like kind of interviewed him, and like I don't like that for first of all, but then Lars goes out there and he's like, when I was in 5th grade, I was called the Freak and I was bullied, and he pretty much alluded to that he murdered those kids. He was like, yeah, then they just started like screaming and crying and they were never seen again. Like he alluded that he killed the kids in the playground that bullied him. And then this week, Cole did it and he had his shirt off. It was really uncomfortable. Like Cole's a foot away from him. He has his shirt off. He's like, I don't know if he's trying to do like the Rock like peck thing, but he was doing it like while he was giving the interview. Like I caught that. Like I naturally saw it happening. I was like, this is uncomfortable. But like a guy like him, like the monster, the freak, whatever, like why is he talking? Like why does he have a microphone in his hands?
I agree. I don't think these vignettes are doing anything for him in a good way. I was more you're absolutely right. He's way more intimidating just going out there and beating up jobbers, and he wasn't even beating up jobbers. He was taking it to real wrestling. Like he went out and killed Jeff Hardy. Like, that was his debut on SmackDown.
Chad Gable, Jeff Hardy, like all these guys.
Regardless of what you think of Lars Sullivan, obviously there's a lot of controversy surrounding him. The build for him, the way he looks, it was all going well until they sat him down in these chairs. And now I'm getting the sense that everyone's starting to kind of think this is a joke, which is not where WWE wants to be going with this, you know? Like, that's not where they want to be going. So, I mean, listen, there's 2 segments on SmackDown. If next week he comes out and kills somebody, I highly doubt that I'm going to, like, hold this against him. You know what I mean? Like, hold this against the booking. But if they keep doing this, there's no point. We get it now. I think we got it last week, and we definitely get it now.
Yeah, no, I mean they're definitely trying something different. Like I'm not mad at them, but it just doesn't seem like the right approach. And we got to see ultimately where they see him, where this goes.
And that's fine. I'm fine with them trying things and not working. Just for the record, like you're right, this was a try. It seems like it's a miss. So the question is now: are they going to have the wherewithal to change course and realize that this might be a miss? And like people are starting to joke around about this, so have him go out there and I don't know, maybe kill Kevin Owens or something.
Like Lana going through a table for 2 months. Like
that we'll get there.
But I for a second I questioned if like, do they want us to find like sympathy for him? Are they trying to make us like feel bad for him that he's called a freak? But then like he's like, yeah, then I killed those kids. I'm like, no, they don't want us to feel bad for him. Like I just don't know what the point is.
What do they always say, right? The best villains, the best heels, they always believe they're right. And in a way, like you could always like sympathize with them. So I get what they're trying to do here with Lars Sullivan. I see it. I'm not believing it quite yet. Maybe if they run another segment, maybe that'll be the one where I'll be like, oh yeah. Now I know with Lars, he has like a very bad anxiety. Right. That was one of the things. That's what derailed his original push, right?
Fight the guy behind you at WrestleMania.
Yes, exactly. That's right. I forgot about that. He has very bad anxiety. So the thing with his pecs, it might have been something anxiety based. It might have just been his way to kind of like the adrenaline in his body and the anxiety, just trying to push through that. So that could have been all that is. And with anxiety, it's possible you could see like stuff in his eyes, which honestly, he might even like lean into and embrace and help his character. So that kind of weird movement, that kind of like, what is this guy doing up there? I actually don't mind that. And he can actually like use, I mean, not that anyone can really use anxiety as a strength. Like that it's horrible if you have anxiety, if you've ever experienced anxiety, you know, it's not a strength, but if they could create this character to like almost have like if he has that moment where he starts like an eye starts twitching or a pec starts twitching or something like that, it could be used for him, not something against him. Like if he were a baby face right now and he started twitching around and started moving like all strange, everyone would be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But since it looks like they're positioning to be a heel, if they do this right, they could do it. So that way, like, and that way he feels more comfortable out there. And it's a win for everyone, really.
You think
but
he gets the last spot?
What'd you say?
You think he gets the last spot for SmackDown?
I'm so torn because of all the things we've heard about him. It seems like he's really not a great guy. I don't know if I actually want him to get this push, but he does seem like the right answer. I'm trying to think of a big name SmackDown's holding back right now. And if DB's out and it looks like DB's not going to be in this match, then I think that he could kind of put them over the edge. And I think a showdown with him and Braun Strowman or him and Keith Lee could be really fun in the middle of that match.
It's really got to be either like him or Murphy, right? At this point.
Yeah, there's just something about Murphy that just doesn't quite do it for me. In terms of like the fifth member of the spot, just because we're talking about how Raw already has the edge, and
Yeah.
Raw has a plethora of people that could possibly be the fifth member of that team, including Drew McIntyre, which we saw them maybe plant the seeds for, maybe not. We're going to discuss that in a minute. But yeah, I think they need someone that brings a physical presence, someone that actually brings that big nature. Not, I mean, Buddy Murphy's pecs are huge. He's definitely a physical presence, just not in the actual stature that Lars Sullivan is. So yeah, I think Lars Sullivan is the appropriate last thing. I think trying to get him on the same page with the rest of the guys, Seth Rollins trying to like make him a disciple, that would be awesome. By the way, if Seth Rollins makes Lars Sullivan a disciple, like that's like a real like powerhouse disciple he has at like his command. That would be interesting. But I don't think that's the way they want to go with him.
Retribution to come get Lars Sullivan and craft them into their own.
What if Seth Rollins was leading Retribution?
No, get Seth.
I want already out
near that. No.
So we are barreling towards one of the most anticipated days of the year, and that is the release of the PlayStation and X. No, I'm kidding. We're barreling towards Survivor Series, right? One of the best pay-per-views in the year. And we got another update on the SmackDown women's team, which has been slow to develop. We have two members now, Ruby Riott and the captain. I'm pretty sure that match was for the captaincy. That's Bianca Belair. So far, I think they're 2 for 2 on good choices here.
Yeah, no, definitely. So far, they've gotten them both right. It seems like Natalya is going to keep losing these matches until she eventually claims a spot, which I'm sure will inevitably happen. Ruby Riott's interesting to me because I didn't know, like, I thought she was with Liv Morgan. I thought they were a tag team. Liv's is nowhere to be found now, and Ruby Riott's in the match. She has a different haircut. She cut her hair short, so sure.
Well, Liv was on SmackDown last week, or maybe the week before that. I don't know. They got drafted, and I know they were on Raw fighting for the tag team championship. We'll see. It's very possible that Liv just wasn't out there this week for the qualifying match. Possibly she gets one of her own next week. I think the big name that you have to look out for now that SmackDown, it seems like Bayley's calendar is pretty much cleared up. So I think that feels like a no-brainer that Bayley should be on this team with Bianca Belair, with Liv Morgan, with Ruby Riott. And then, yeah, we could throw Natty in there, but that's a formidable team of 4, right?
Yeah, for sure. With Carmella super kicking Sasha Banks, it seems like Sasha and Bayley are done, at least for now. I'm sure they'll pick it back up when things get hot again, like around like Mania or something. But right now, it seems like they're done for the time being. Sasha's going to start a program with Carmella. That should be pretty good. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense that Bayley would now join Team SmackDown. It is kind of weird that Team Raw announced all 5 of their people in one night, and now Team SmackDown's very slowly putting a team together.
I would tell you what, if that SmackDown team that I just mentioned comes to fruition, I think I like that SmackDown team a lot better than I like the Raw team.
I mean, like them, or think they're going to win?
If you take out Nia and Shayna,
but that's the whole
other
team.
3 are. Well, I know that's like the whole entire team. I just think that when it comes down to it, you've got Bayley and Bianca Belair. They're like Nia and Shayna, or at least we think that they're going to start booking Bianca Belair like Nia and Shayna.
Bayley's a big if.
If Bayley's on this team, I think SmackDown has as good a shot as any because they're going to have to prove that Bayley's 300 and whatever amount of days reign as women's title she's gonna have to go deep into this match either way.
Yeah,
And the way they're booking Bianca Belair, she's also gonna have to go deep into this match.
for sure.
So if they get those two, I think if they're both on board, and we already know one is, I think that SmackDown has just as good a shot to win it with Raw. But we won't do our predictions now. We're getting closer. I think it's 2 weeks from Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
With like COVID happening and like everyone like kind of scared of everything, like, do you think we're gonna get the like the usual Survivor Series invasions that we usually get, like on like the go homes and stuff? There's no fans, and like I'm sure they don't want a ton of people in one spot, but it's kind of really important for the show. Like it always gets you really excited. So I don't really know what they're gonna do there.
That's a really good question. I would say that if they, I think that they can do it. They've had multiple people segments, and it appears that after a few mishaps in the beginning on how to deal with this, and we can get on them for mismanaging COVID all we want, but the reality is no one is managing COVID well. Nobody was managing COVID well. From your local businesses opening up, there's a spike everywhere going on. So, I mean, I believe that they're doing their best. It sounds like it's gotten better and better there, where there are less cases. Obviously, you can't live these wrestlers' lives for them. WWE would love if they came to the Performance Center and then went straight home, right? But the reality is they can't assume that that's what the wrestlers are doing, and they're trying to put on a show. So I think that if they just have the people that are involved in the matches, I think that's acceptable. Having 60 people on top of each other seems slightly irresponsible. We're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to the Royal Rumble, if COVID is still a thing, and COVID's definitely going to still be a thing, it seems like, unfortunately. Though I'll keep my fingers crossed, I'll keep my fingers crossed, but it looks like, but I would start with just like that. When we had the 6-man ladder matches in Money in the Bank, we had all the men and women in the building. So I think if they just keep it to the people that are in the matches, or spread it out a little bit through a multiple backstage segment instead of one big invasion, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't be able to pull it off.
We probably don't need like I don't know, like what's his name, like Grand Metalik and like those guys running in with like their SmackDown shirts. We probably don't need that this year.
Right, and like I said, if you want to make that like a separate thing in the back, where like 2 tag teams from SmackDown like run up on 2 tag teams on Raw, just like a 5-second thing, like that's great, because I know you want to keep everyone involved, and you want to like. They a big thing with that is like, oh, brand supremacy, like everyone's bought in, right? Everyone's about the SmackDown brand, everyone's about the Raw brand. So as long as they keep the individual segments down, I don't see why they can't do it.
Okay.
But let's move on now to Raw, and let's first start with Randy Orton. Randy Orton is entangled with like 3 different people right now, and I think it's been excellent.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's been really entertaining. We start this week where Drew McIntyre gained the Fiend's power to appear in the ring somehow, and I'll tell you what, McIntyre and Orton, they just have this chemistry, because every time they hit each other, I believe they're hitting each other for real. Like I believe that they are trying to kill each other.
Yeah, it works.
Miz, great spot. Great spot this week. After McIntyre kicks in Orton's face, Miz comes out there, teases the cash in. McIntyre obviously plays the even bigger baby face than he already is, and says, "No one's taking that title except for me."
That was awesome. I actually popped big. I was like, "Wow, like this is sick." Because when Miz came out, I was like, "Really? We're doing this right now?" And then like McIntyre comes back in, he's like, "Nope," and it beats up him and Morrison. I was like, "That's sick. Well done."
Yeah, that was great. And then of course you have the Fiend, who I read an article the other day that the WWE sees the Fiend and Alexa Bliss as the top baby faces on Raw right now.
No, they don't.
That's what I read. I'm sorry. That's what I watched a video. I believe it was a What Culture Wrestling or a.
I mean, everyone loves them, but like they're not baby faces.
That's what they were saying on the show. They were saying basically the WWE has this obsession with hearing crowd reaction and then turning people. And look what happened to Bobby Roode, right? Everyone loved to sing the theme song, but he was this great heel. And then they turned him face, and then he got completely lost in the shuffle. Now, Bray Wyatt won't get lost in the shuffle. I just don't believe it at this point. Yeah. Even when he was losing every match, he never got lost in the shuffle. Like, he was always in prominent things. Yeah. So we don't have to worry about him getting lost in the shuffle, but maybe some type of effectiveness wears off.
Let me run something by you that crossed my mind, where I could be totally off on this, but what do you think about McIntyre taking Money in the Bank off Miz?
I actually wouldn't mind this idea of that briefcase possibly being a hot potato and moving around like
They're
3 or 4 times. What'd you say?
Miz and McIntyre are kind of like involved with each other now, like a couple of times now in the last like month.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I definitely wouldn't mind it. You know what I mean? Like if this briefcase moves around a few times, then at least it makes it look. Then it makes it looks like a little bit normal, or like what they did. Um, and yeah, I mean, like I definitely wouldn't mind if that briefcase moved from like person to person to person, and then somebody just decided. I would love for somebody to win it one day and then cash it in that day, and then the interview would be like, "Yeah, this briefcase wasn't staying with people for too long, so I had to take my opportunity and cash it in."
I can't see Drew losing if he was to get the briefcase.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
It was just an idea.
What'd you say?
I said it was just an idea.
Yeah, we can move on though to the women's team, the Women's Survivor Series team. Now we already know who's on the team. So strange thing. Just really strange with the whole entire women's team, but we'll just break it down for you really quickly. So Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are the current women's tag team champions. Last week, they were like, we're the captains, obviously. And then Mandy and Dana Brooke, who hadn't lost a match on Raw yet, said, no, we're the captains. We haven't lost a match on Raw yet. So this week on Raw, they got into a tag team match for the women's the women's tag team championships, in which Lana tried to interfere and have Dana and Mandy win, but then Nia and Shayna still won, and then Nia went into the back, told Lana she was going to end her career, and by golly, she tried her hardest and put her through announce table for how many times, Mark? The 7th. There we go. 7th week in a row. Crazy. Lana is becoming one with the table, as you predicted, because she's literally inside of it every single week.
Table master Lana. I actually saw that like they're trying to make her a babyface by doing this. Like their plan is to make Lana
or
like
Lana.
Lana is like the big baby.
That's sad because that's a really bad strategy.
I think it was funny in the beginning. Now no one cares, which is the problem when you like. They do this a lot, honestly. Where they find something that really works, and it's either like a comedy thing or like that was a really cool thing. And they beat it into the ground until it's not funny anymore or it doesn't work anymore. I think R-Truth is a good example with the 24/7 stuff where he is still really funny, but I think it worked really well in the beginning, and now it's just the same stuff over and over again. It's just like most of the segments don't hit. Most of the segments are like, oh, whatever. Like the guy hit him in the head backstage and he pinned him. Like, who cares? Like in the beginning, it was like funny. It worked. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Lana. I don't really have much to say. I don't really know because I still don't know.
Sole Survivor, right? That's your prediction.
What is the booking? Like, maybe. Do you know? Can you tell me for sure? I don't even see. That's the thing. I could see Lana being the sole survivor in like the most quirky, ridiculous way possible, and I could see Lana not being in the match, like not making it to Survivor Series. Like that is crazy. That is crazy. You know what I mean? Like Nia gets eliminated, then like runs all over the 3 remaining Raw women's team, and she just like is dragging Lana's body, like dead body on all of them, and then Lana's the sole survivor, and then she puts Lana through the table again.
You might have just booked Survivor Series. Like that might.
I mean, like, could you see it happening? I could definitely see it happening.
Definitely, I could definitely see that happening. I hope not at Bianca Belair's expense, but I can definitely see that happening.
Listen, I guess I'm in the minority when I say I don't mind Lana. Like, and I think if they actually decided to take her more seriously, she could be a legitimate member of the Raw Survivor Series team. Like, not anymore.
Can't wrestle or talk. But besides that, she's great. Like besides those 2 important things, like, she's great.
I will give her this. She was fine in her last 2 matches. Now, granted, she was getting beat up most of the time, but she was fine getting beat up.
Dude, she fucking she sold for Asuka. Like she just like stood there and got beaten up by Asuka.
Asuka actually let her get a little bit of offense in before she completely did away with her. I guess that was really nice.
It was like a 4-minute match.
It was a 4-minute match, yeah.
I could put on a competent 4-minute match if we getting beaten up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could too. I think I could just get thrown around the ring for a little while. But that, you know what? We're just going to give her the credit, all right? We're just going to give her the credit. All right, I'm going to give her the credit. All right, let's just move on to our last topic. We're not talking about the IC or the United States Championship because let's be honest, nothing really happened with it.
Sammy was on the show, was he?
Sammy noticeably absent. I guess they don't really feel like they need to build that. Those two had a long feud that they're going to keep playing back.
Lashley's building it on Raw. Lashley's like,
well,
smack to him on Raw.
Lashley actually responded to Sammy, who told him why he was so much better than him on SmackDown the previous week. So we'll see what happens with that. But regardless, that's going to be a good match. I think I actually am enjoying like the little bit of build that those two have because of the past history. They made the references to Bobby's sisters the other day, which I just thought was excellent booking. Just like leaning into a bad segment that they had, like they just leaned into it, and I thought it was really good. But let's talk about the tag team champions who got beat this week by the Hurt Business. That's Kofi and Woods. And they got beat by Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. Did you see that coming? I did not see that coming.
No, especially it was a really good promo back and forth between the New Day and MVP. And like they all talked a little bit, but it was mostly MVP talking to them. And it's their first match, right? Coming over to Raw, like with the titles. Maybe they had one match.
No, they defended them already once.
Okay, but like you just would assume they would win there, but no, they didn't. I don't have a problem with it. Like no loss matters for the New Day at this point, like ever. So like it just keeps elevating the Hurt Business and elevates MVP and Lashley. Like it works. So obviously, well, they weren't even in this match, but it's still like their stature, their status keeps getting elevated. So it's good.
Yeah, the Hurt Business has looked excellent at the expense of Retribution, who was noticeably absent from the show. No, nothing on Retribution.
They were there on Raw.
Were they? Oh, that's right. They did. They beat up.
By the way, Tucker and Otis both lost this week in less than 3 minutes, but doesn't matter.
Otis, that match was like 5 minutes long.
He lost quick.
Okay, Tucker lost in like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying like you can't like I get what you're saying, but like they even made Otis look like he was gonna win that match at one point in time. Like Tucker got a punch in and then got pinned. Like
and Ricochet just beat him and like whatever. But tonight, just with the New Day stuff, you're talking. The New Day's gonna fight the Street Profits in Survivor Series. Really funny segment. The Street Profits were like trying to buddy Big E, like and like Big E's like, oh, you just want me to tell you guys some stuff about Woods and Xavier, Woods and Kofi, whatever. And then he's like, all right, here's the tip. Like, just lay down. They won't hurt you. And it was funny.
Yeah. And then Billy Kay came in at the end of that segment. It was fun too, you know. Yeah. Give everyone their nod. Yeah. But the Hurt Business has looked great throughout the last few weeks. They're doing actually a really good job booking them again at the expense of Retribution, who I fully expect to be. I don't know. What's going on? I don't even want to talk about it.
I actually saw Retribution, the girl, Mia Yim. I don't know her name, but she's supposed to start a program with Asuka. So that's going to go really well for Retribution. And no, don't get excited. She's going to lose. Like,
I'm not going to get excited, but
she's going to lose. She has no chance to win that match. Like that program, it's just going to be like a filler for Asuka.
Ready for Asuka.
It's a filler to get Asuka to the next thing, whenever that is, whenever Charlotte comes back.
That's Charlotte.
We're just fighting for Charlotte.
Okay. Let's touch on the men's Raw team really quickly. I said I want to talk about Sheamus. I'm not open with Sheamus. Sheamus has now, in back-to-back weeks, put on the best match on WWE TV.
It was a triple threat match this time.
Triple threat match. Excellent triple threat match. Probably one of the best matches we've seen on Raw in a few months, honestly. And then last week with Riddle, that match was excellent too.
Look at you.
What'd you say? Look
at you calling him his proper name, Riddle.
Sorry. Matt Riddle.
Oh, no, that's
Riddle.
his name now. Good for you.
Riddle's now his name. We dropped his first name. Excellent stuff from Sheamus. And then to put it all together, he goes in the back and he talks to Drew McIntyre. And that's also interesting as well. So, I mean, he's really had a good few weeks, which is good. I think this is a character that they haven't really utilized. We know what a great heel he could be. We know he could be a babyface, too, if they decide to ever turn him again. I don't know if they would. It feels like Raw is lacking babyfaces a little bit, so maybe that could be some way that he goes. He talked to Drew McIntyre.
Him the spot, right? Sheamus offered.
What was that?
Sheamus offered McIntyre the 5th spot, right?
Yes, he went basically to Drew McIntyre and he was like, "Hey, buddy, like you're doing great. I would love some help on this Raw team," because he kicked Braun Strowman. Was it Braun Strowman? In the face. He gave him a bro kick right in the face out of the ring after they were like hugging and stuff like that. It was actually a really good segment. Like, but it was a really good segment. And AJ was phenomenal through the whole thing, trying to incite this team spirit, this rah-rah team spirit. Do you think McIntyre has a chance of being that 5th member?
No.
I'm going to say he might.
They'd be too loaded, man. Like they're already like how they're already how are they going to lose? Like they had Drew, it's too much.
I agree with what you're saying. But
like no one on that team can lose clean right now except for Sheamus.
Yeah. Well, I feel like with AJ, he's kind of like what you're saying about the New Day. Like if they just decided this was the off pay-per-view that AJ was going to get eliminated early, like no one would bat an eye and be like, "Oh, AJ Styles is in trouble." You know what I mean? Like but Keith Lee can't have it.
It just won't happen though. I know what you're saying, but like
Braun Strowman's not going to actually get eliminated. You know what I mean? Braun Strowman's going to get eliminated by count out or something like that. So really, it's Keith Lee that has to look very strong in this group of people right now. Braun will look strong, obviously, but again, like we said, he'll probably get eliminated, or he'll be the last elimination, and it'll be really special, or he'll just win the whole thing. Who knows? But yeah, I think really it's just Keith Lee that has to really be protected, and they could be making it. So I mean, McIntyre, I don't know. I get what you're saying. I think we have to see who SmackDown's 5th person is, but I think we'll see who Raw's 5th person is first. So if it's not him, who do you think it's going to be? Now, I'm keep in mind, we've made these lists, but I feel like our opinions change once we see who's on the actual team. So that's why I'm asking you again now.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe The Miz. Yeah.
I thought The Miz too. I think Morrison would actually be a better fit for the team, though.
He would be. He's not doing anything. I don't know. I don't have a guy right now. I said Angel Garza originally, but I don't even know if he's like on. He's doing.
I haven't seen him in a minute.
Backstage stuff. He's not doing stuff in the ring. So
I'm sure we're just gonna have a random qualifying match on Monday or next Monday to see who gets the last spot, or maybe they'll do like a last chance thing with Jeff Hardy, Elias, and Riddle, and then maybe Riddle gets in, maybe Jeff Hardy gets in. Elias probably does not get in. Out of those 3, I would say.
Yeah, Jeff Hardy makes a lot of sense to get in there.
Jeff Hardy would make a lot of sense. I think Riddle would be fine too. I would not mind him actually making this team. And yeah, I think that would be a good way to round out the team. Nothing special. Like they don't need anything special. They need like you said, kind of like somebody that's just gonna like kind of blend in and be like, oh, like not like what is he doing there? Like he shouldn't be in this spot, but like somebody that's just like, oh, okay, that's nothing major. Like that's not John Cena returning, you know?
Yeah.
Although with a caveat, I would love to see R-Truth in this match.
Okay.
I just want to see it. I just want to see it. I don't know. He could look good for a little while.
Sure, why not?
And then just have him get eliminated. So you're saying no R-Truth?
I don't need R-Truth in this match, no. He can fight. Right. He can fight Gulak and Tozawa in the pre-show. It's fine.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's get to the election section. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is how it's going to work. Okay, we're going to alternate going first on topics. All right. I'm going to pick a wrestler, or in some cases, an inanimate object, and then, like I said, you're going to pick one as well. We're going to give our reason on why we think that they are the best or the worst or whatever. And then the other person is going to give their reason on why they think their thing is the best or the worst. Then you will get an opportunity to tell me why I'm wrong. And I'll get an opportunity to tell you why you're wrong. And then maybe at the end we'll agree, and then maybe not. All right?
You go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I have no idea what we're doing. So you go first. I'll pick it up.
All right. So the first topic is who is the best men's wrestler of all time?
Okay.
All right. So I will go with. I know you want John. I know you want John.
Well,
So
we're gonna agree. I'm gonna say Cena.
well, that's why. To try and keep some objectivity, I will go with Dwayne the Rock Johnson. And here's why. His run was so short, right, compared to John's, that it's so special to this day. Every time you see him, he's got all the accolades. He's a multi-time world champion. He's the Hollywood darling. I mean, he just was the complete package. And I think as good as John's promo work was, Dwayne was just a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I mean a measly bit better, and just suited his era a little bit more than John.
It's the longevity, man. No one can touch Cena. He did it for 15 years. He's on top of the like. No one can touch him for 15 years. Like I know he worked with guys obviously along the way, but like he was the constant. Like guys would go away, guys would get hurt. Like he missed time like twice over like a 15-year span, and like I think one was to do a movie, and then he tore his something when he came back in LA for the Rumble. He his like his arm or something. I don't know, but it's just he's untouchable. 16 time he has the record. 16.
So here's the thing: the best player in each league, the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, is not necessarily the player with the most championships, right? Wayne Gretzky doesn't have the most championships. Michael Jordan / LeBron James doesn't have the most championships, right? It's not about being the most. It's about the impact you make when you're there. And Dwayne made such an impact that every time the man comes back, it is like, I can't even compare it to anything. It's like a championship team just won. The entire crowd stands up, yells, goes absolutely nuts. I will not question whether or not John Cena is the most polarizing figure to ever grace a WWE stage, even more polarizing than Hulk Hogan in his NWO days. But I think if we're talking about just a guy who just got the wrestling, I give the slight edge to Dwayne.
I mean, no, I mean polarizing is the word for John, of course. Like no one got his reaction. Like how it became like how it started off, like everyone liked it. Everyone hated him in the beginning, and then eventually everyone liked him, and got to a point where half of the people hated him, half of the people adored him. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. Like that's never happened before. Like no one's ever had that type of reaction when they come out. Where like it's usually like the grown men say he sucks, and the women and kids love him, but that's fine. Like that, and I'm sure no one's ever pushed more merchandise than him ever. Like he's just like.
All right, that's a really fair point. That's like, a really fair.
Wearing his stuff, wearing the Never Give Up, wearing the stuff, and like obviously all the stuff he's done with Make a Wish. It's just like I know what you're saying. Like you think Dwayne's impact was bigger in the small sample that he was there, but it's just like John did it for so long, and obviously like he's had some things like the 4 moves of doom, and people think he's not the greatest in ring wrestler. He got so much better over time. That's not important. Like he was the main event every single show for over a decade. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I will give you that. I think the one thing that Rocky had going for him, which obviously John couldn't control, is he had Stone Cold Steve Austin as the perfect foil, you know, as the guy that was going to fight him always. John Cena had Edge, he had Randy Orton, but there was no rivalry for John that was like Rock and Austin. So, I mean, that's more of a knock against Rock than it is against Cena, because Cena did all that he did without that perfect rival, you know, without that Triple H or that Randy Orton really being as consistent as a Stone Cold Steve Austin was. But yeah, all right. I'd say I agree with what you're saying on the premise, but I'm sticking with my guns, and I'm sure you're sticking with yours.
Yeah.
All right, so no agreement on that one. But again, I didn't ask you to shut up. You didn't call me names like Sleepy Frank, so that's a great start to this segment. All right. Let's move on. Best female wrestler of all time, and I will give you the floor.
Oh, that's tough. All time. It's probably Charlotte, which hurts me to say. I would normally say Trish Stratus in a normal situation, but I just don't think women's wrestling, it's not her fault, of course, but like, women's wrestling didn't really matter when she was prominent, when she had great stuff with Lita. She had great stuff with I don't know, like there's all the girls like what's it, like Victoria, like those girls, like Candice Michelle, like group of girls. I'm sure like she worked great matches with. It's notably Mickey James and Lita, but especially now like the women's evolution and everything, it's probably Charlotte.
All right. I'm going to stick with you in the time zone, but I'm going to go with someone else, and I'm going to go with Becky Lynch. And the reason why I say Becky Lynch, again, does not have the titles necessarily that Charlotte Flair has, but just has this impact. And I don't know if women's wrestling gets where it does without Becky Lynch. Like, I don't know if you have a WrestleMania main event in which you have just Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. Because I don't know if I would have want to watch that, but I wanted to watch Becky Lynch in the WrestleMania main event.
It should have been Becky versus Ronda.
Ronda, straight up.
There's no need for Charlotte to be in that match. But no, I mean I want to agree with you just because I think I'm totally on board. Like we would not be where we are today with Sasha and Bayley with everyone if it wasn't for Becky. Like no one's ever gotten behind women's wrestling the way they got behind Becky. Like she was the show. Like she was the reason we turned it on.
She was the Rock. She was the Stone Cold. She was the John Cena of like women's wrestling.
Got the promo. She wrestled. She did the crazy stuff. She obviously used to. You had the thing last week of the bloody face. Like that was an iconic moment for women's wrestling as a whole, especially for Becky. But
WWE, yeah.
But no, Charlotte is just like it's the way she's portrayed. She's like a step above everyone. Like it's just how it works. Like she came in with the Flair name. Like how many does she have? 7 or 8 world titles already? Like
I believe she's a 10 times women's champion.
Like that's disgusting.
She put it on Instagram or Twitter or something like that.
I hate that. That's gross. But like she's like I don't know. She's on another level. You just tell like she's the girl. She's the top one.
I think if Becky didn't get pregnant, and she was still around on Raw or SmackDown, and she was still holding on to that title, we might be having a different conversation right now. Because so Becky got this big push as champion, and then she left, right? She like left as the champ. You know, she went out as a champ. So like all the build up to that one WrestleMania match with Ronda Rousey, and then like the next full year, we're like really where Becky's coming out party, right? That was the man, right? That was Becky Lynch. We don't know if they would have ever seen her in the light as like a Charlotte Flair, where they, oh, Becky Lynch is here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like now we're starting to see Bayley in like, it's not exactly the same as Charlotte, but it's getting there with Bayley and Sasha Banks. I mean, after this recent run that they've both been on, where it's like, okay, they are a step above everybody else on at least their brand. Asuka's starting to create that thing. So I think it's more on the WWE just creating stars, but I do agree with what you're saying, that there is no one that has been built genetically like Charlotte. Like she says genetically superior. She actually is.
She is.
She does things at her size that that people can't do smaller than her.
Yeah.
Men and women, you know. So
I love Becky. I don't want to argue against this, but like it's Charlotte. Like
I will fold to you. I will agree with what you're saying just because of the superiority of the athlete that she is compared to Becky Lynch. Then she can back it up, but that's not to say Becky's a bad wrestler. She's one of the best technical wrestlers.
Yeah, and I'd say Trish Stratus, Mickey James, Sasha Bayley all get honorable mentions for sure.
All right, every year the WWE does 12 pay-per-views, right?
Yep.
What is the best of them? You cannot choose the Royal Rumble because everyone loves the Rumble. The thing with the Royal Rumble is people watch the Royal Rumble that don't watch wrestling. You know what I mean? I guess WrestleMania too, but more the Royal Rumble. People watch the Royal Rumble that don't watch wrestling.
It's like a drinking game. It's exciting. Like it's fun.
You can bet on it. It's like so much fun. It's like so much fun. And honestly, like I think we should, like when Corona's over, we should get more people. We should like have a Royal Rumble party. Honestly, I want to have a party for everything now. That I want to see people again. But
so you're asking me to choose between Survivor Series, WrestleMania, and Money in the Bank.
I guess in SummerSlam too, if you like the hottest party of the summer.
I'm gonna take Money in the Bank. You know, I kind of liked it when it was at WrestleMania though, when it wasn't its own entity, when it was like a match inside of WrestleMania. I feel like it gave WrestleMania a little more stake. Like I was a little more excited, and it was always in the back of your head, like the guy who wins tonight could cash in the main event of WrestleMania. You know, like there was a little something to that. But what?
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah.
But no, I think it's really cool. Like I think it was good they added it to the girls. It's been a little weird Carmella, I think, did okay with it, but ever since then, Alexa cashed in immediately, and then like this year was weird with Asuka and like whatever. But no, I think Money in the Bank is just really exciting. Like a lot of the times, there's 2 or 3 favorites, but you never really know who's going to win, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, I do like Money in the Bank, but I'm gonna go with Survivor Series. I think that the thing that we were talking about earlier, that thrill of that having that person run in and like from a different brand and like attack the person. It's not like we've never seen these people fight before, but it feels like it's brand new every single time and every single year. And I think over the last few years, they've absolutely killed it. NXT last year, the stuff that Shane McMahon was doing when Roman literally speared him out of the air.
Like knocked him out.
Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton had some great moments in Survivor Series when they were like a duo. I think Survivor Series is just, what's that?
One of my favorite ones was SmackDown. I think it was 2017 or 2016 or something. It was no, it's probably later, but it was Kevin Owens and Sami fighting the New Day, and then it was the main event of SmackDown. The Shield's music hit, and everyone was like, "Oh no!" And Graves was like, "They're here," and then like Strowman came out, Kurt Angle came out. That was probably like 3 years ago, right? Not, I don't know, but that was sick. It was like the coolest thing.
I remember last year, Roman was on SmackDown. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for Roman to show up on NXT or Raw, and then he finally did, and he just laid waste to everybody because we were waiting. They kept teasing different people at different times. Like they did an excellent job last year in the build up to the show. They kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then boom, here comes the big dog. And him and Seth kind of stared each other down. At this time, they were both still baby faces. This was actually right before Seth Rollins turned heel. Yeah. And it was great. And then the match, the men's match was excellent. Keith Lee obviously looked phenomenal. He outlasted Tommaso Ciampa, who I think if you would have asked us in the beginning of the match who would have gone the longest for Team NXT, it would have been him. Or Walter, who was the UK champion.
I remember that they had the crazy War Games right before, and they had to have that. That was crazy.
We're actually gonna do a War Games prediction. We don't usually do NXT, but War Games is just one of those shows where I'm really excited. And I think for the 3rd consecutive year, the Undisputed Era is gonna be in War Games. They might as well just call it the Undisputed Era match at this point. And they're gonna go up against Pat McAfee and his posse that he's put together. That's gonna be super exciting.
But yeah, when Adam Cole might never come up.
I think you've actually helped my point here by pointing out that War Games is the night before Survivor Series. When you have those 2 pay-per-views back to back, that's like a really hard weekend to beat.
Yeah. Did you hear what I said about Adam Cole?
Yeah, I hope they call Adam Cole up soon. Maybe Royal Rumble, baby. I don't know. We'll see
maybe they're waiting for the Rumble. Maybe
they're probably waiting for something special. His contract was apparently supposed to be up, so he must have re-upped if he's still, going back. So I'm just waiting for them to give him the keys to the city at this point, as one of the top people in all of the company. But we can move on. I think I'm going to count that as you conceding to me that Survivor Series was the better match.
Sure, I'll give you that. You concede.
Okay, let's finish with this because there's not 2 answers. Actually, I have 2 more questions. First one, what is the most devastating object a wrestler can hit another wrestler with? It has to be something consistent. You know what I mean? Not like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Like lead pipes, sledgehammers, barbed wire things. That's all fine.
Okay. Thinking between, I think steel chair probably has the most impact. Where when it hits it, you're just like, oh wow.
It makes that sound.
Yeah,
right?
It's that, but like ladders are a pretty scary visual a lot of times because I feel like a lot of the times it's a botch and they just like take the guy's face off by accident. Steel steps are another way. Anything steel, it's just like the visual and the noise of like it's usually like the hands, like smacking the hands against it. Like I'll say a chair. Chair is nice and simple, and I think there's a lot of impact to the chair.
All right, I'm gonna go with anything that has barbed wire on it, and here's why. When they take out that barbed wire, they bleed regardless. Like everyone bleeds.
Well,
like,
when was the last time they did that?
I want to say, I think the Ambrose Asylum match with Ambrose and Jericho, who are now both on AEW, definitely had barbed wire.
That's really funny. Was it
barbed
wire or tacks? There was definitely tacks in that.
There were tacks, 100%, but I'm pretty sure there was barbed wire too. I feel like they bring it out every once in a while. Maybe, all right, you know what? I'm going to curve. I'm going to go with the steel steps because when whenever anything happens on the steel steps, like there's so much chance for something to go wrong. Sometimes people like, and you can use them in all different ways too. The steel steps are way more versatile than people think because you can use them as leverage. Like you could slam somebody down on them, right? You can slam somebody with them, or you could step on top of them and use them for that little extra height, you know? So like, oh, and you can also, they have that like gap that's perfect for a human neck for some reason, and you can kind of just like push somebody there. So they're like super versatile and heavy and big. So like, and you're right, they have that impact, that sound.
That's Flappy and watching you explain it. But yeah, they can be used as murder weapons. Like he was above Jey Uso, and then he was going to kill him. And then...
yeah, they literally. And honestly, like I believe that they could kill somebody with them.
I feel like they used to use the ring bell a lot. Ring bell was effective.
The ring bell was, and then they had stopped shots to the head.
That makes
and
sense.
I don't think it dings so much in someone's midsection as it did in the head. I'm not even kidding. I wish I was kidding. They had to like tone down a lot of the weapons, like for good reason.
Of course, no more pile drivers, no more chair like headshots, and I guess like the title belts were also like kind of effective.
Title belts are a great weapon. The Money in the Bank briefcase, another one, excellent weapon. All right, so this was just a segment on great WWE weapons. Let's move on to the last question, and this is one I know you're going to give me a great answer for. I know I'm going to think of a great answer. I'll give you the floor. Who should win the Royal Rumble in 2021? Let's say this is the first event. Listen, COVID's still an issue, yes. But the MLB allowed fans in the stadium. The NFL is allowing fans in the stadium. We've got this report that the NBA wants arenas to be anywhere from 5 to 25% capacity when the season starts rolling around. I think it's inevitable. Vince is going to look at all these big things, say, we're based in Florida, who is at max capacity in the Dolphins games anyway, or can be. I don't know if they actually draw max capacity, but they can be. I think Vince is going to look at this and say, like, maybe let's put it in a small arena outside in Florida, and let's fill it up halfway, or let's fill it up 25% of the way. So this could potentially be the first event with fans in almost a year. So this has got to be big. So who wins the Royal Rumble? You can give me a man, you can give me a woman, but you got to tell me why that's the end of the show.
The men, they can do a lot of different things. Obviously, there's a lot of guys in house they can pick. They can call on Cena. They can call on Dwayne, try to do the Dwayne Roman thing. I don't think that's the move to give him a Royal Rumble win. For me, I think it's Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan has said this is going to be his last run, his last full-time run. He never won the Rumble. I think a lot of people wanted him to win the Rumble. He never got that. And I think that could be really great. Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania.
I don't know if I actually have a better answer than that. Yeah, I mean, John would be a lot of fun, but I think he's won it like twice already. Nobody else that's like kind of like, I'm trying to think of somebody who's going to get moved. I think Keith Lee is like an outside chance right now. You got to look at guys like Braun Strowman. I don't think they'll give it to Braun Strowman, but they always have a chance.
You mentioned Adam Cole. That'd be a great way to debut Adam Cole.
That's what I was going to say. I think an NXT call-up would be a lot of fun. I think of the NXT call-ups, it's got to be Adam Cole, baby. Because let's face it, he's like one of the best wrestlers in the world already, you know? And we've had this discussion on this podcast before where we've said he's great in NXT, and there's nothing wrong with being in NXT, but they could bring him to another universe of popularity if they brought him to the main roster. It's just a thing. Like Roman Reigns is more popular right now than Finn Balor.
Yeah.
And Finn Balor is an excellent wrestler and has been on the main roster. But Roman Reigns is bigger than Finn Balor. Randy Orton is bigger than Finn Balor right now. That's just the way things are. Maybe they won't always be like that. But for now, I think that if you want somebody to get that legitimacy, you need to give them that jump. And I think Adam Cole making his debut in WWE in the Royal Rumble, maybe eliminating some behemoths, maybe eliminating some faces, depending on what they want to do with them. It seems like they're positioning now to be a face. I think the crowd would pop big when they hear that Shock the System play over the loudspeaker. and we get an actual live crowd reaction. Hopefully, there'll be more. Hopefully, there'll be. I want to see Becky Lynch back at this, but I just don't think the math checks out there in terms of pregnancy, and I don't know if she's going to be willing to come back even before WrestleMania. I'm trying. I'm bad at math. I'm really bad at math, but it doesn't. I'm actually doing it now.
Have the kid in December.
Yeah, I see. Like, I don't want to even call that because, like,
it doesn't work.
She's probably not going to want to leave her newborn baby. I mean, maybe there's a chance she's got that fire in her eyes.
She's also she's never said she's coming back. Like,
I believe wholeheartedly she's not done though.
I mean, she's doing a lot of stuff already with acting. Like, she's like, apparently
I'm sure she is. I don't know if she'll ever come back full time, but I'm definitely thinking she's going to be back in a wrestling capacity, and long enough to like hold a championship for a few months too. Not that's not to say like she won't be in and out, but like I expect her to be more involved than John is at the current point, of his career.
Yeah.
I don't think she's done with this. I don't think she's had that one match that she really wants to have. When she beat Ronda Rousey in WrestleMania, she rolled her up.
It was BS.
I don't think that's the match.
And like Ronda kind of kicked out. Ronda like kicked. We didn't know what happened. Like Ronda like won kind of.
She's tussled with Charlotte. She's tussled with Asuka, Sasha Banks, Bayley. But we'd love to see all of them again. So,
what do you think wins the girls' rumble?
Charlotte.
Again.
It just feels like the safe bet. But I'm hoping for Bianca Belair to really take off.
Yeah, it's Bianca Belair.
I would love to see someone like Naomi win, possibly. Asuka has the belt, or else I'd be picking her 100%. I think Nia Jax is a threat because they never give it to like the larger superstars. So I'm thinking maybe one day they're just going to do it. They're just going to give it to.
Why is Lacey Evans not a prominent character?
That's a great question. We don't have enough time to answer that.
She just does everything really well, right? She's like attractive. She's a really good wrestler. She can talk. She's a pretty good character.
Yeah, I mean,
boxing, right?
I know. I'm gonna get some heat from you, but the character doesn't really do much for me. She's like the sassy Southern Belle. I don't know.
It's good. It's funny.
I know you like the show about wrestling on Netflix. What's it called?
Glow. She's like directly from a character from Glow.
Yeah, so I know but like I haven't watched the show. Maybe if I did, I'd like Lacey Evans. I mean, I like Lacey Evans. The character doesn't do anything.
She's good. She's like a good wrestler. I don't know.
She definitely is good in the ring.
She's so much better than like so many of these girls that keep getting these opportunities. I don't get it.
I think I'm hitching my wagon to Bianca Belair. I really want them to really push her. She seems like she's just a dominant athlete compared to everybody else. And she's been really entertaining to watch. Even when she worked with Natty, good technically, not really going to give you much in terms of flair. And who even else was the last person in that match? Was it Zelina Vega?
Yeah.
Are we sure?
No, that was this week. Last week was Billie Kay.
That was like a really good match. And like, not with two people you would think like could put on like an amazing match. And it was Bianca. It was a lot Bianca. So I'm hoping it's her for the women. But all right, I think that's gonna do it for us. Unless you got anything else to say.
I think it'd be really cool if Alexa Bliss won, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. I keep seeing her as like not in these title hunts, but eventually, if they want to like legitimize this fiend Alexa Bliss,
big baby face, she
could. Yeah, but Jesus.
She's like dropping blood out of her mouth on it's a big baby face.
That's how they view her, apparently. Maybe. I don't know. All right, but with that being said, we'll be back next week, probably Wednesday, maybe Friday. Reason why we moved to Friday because there wasn't a whole ton of a lot to talk about after just Monday. So we'll see you then. And then the week after that, we will have our Survivor Series / War Games preview. Mark's going to have to start tuning into NXT these next 2 weeks to really catch up and get ready for it. I'm going to have to learn the name of Adam Cole's stable, which I feel bad for not knowing the name of Adam Cole's stable because Adam Cole is not the wrestler. The other three are the wrestler. I know Pete Dunne. We know who Pete Dunne is.
How about Pat McAfee? You keep saying Adam Cole.
Excuse me, Adam Cole. I definitely know the member of Adam Cole's stable. But, yeah, I'm going to have to learn the tag team's name. I don't know what the name of the tag team is. I don't know what their individual names are. I have to learn that, obviously. I have not been watching too much NXT. I fluctuate with NXT. Sometimes I'm really into it. Sometimes I'm not.
If you watch AEW, it's a superior show on Wednesday nights.
No, I don't watch AEW almost ever. I do actually know what's going on with AEW most of the time. Just nothing has really drawn me in from AEW. All the characters. You know what my problem with AEW is?
What's your problem with AEW?
It's Cody. It's Cody Rhodes. That's my problem with AEW. You're gonna ask me why?
Why, Frank?
Well, okay. So Cody went after Triple H, right? That was the guy who put the sledgehammer in the throne that clearly was a shot to Triple H, right?
Yeah.
And what does he say about Triple H? Oh, well, Triple H puts himself before everybody else, right?
Sure.
Cody has this TNT title, right?
Yeah.
First person to have it, right? Didn't give anybody else that rub. Held it the whole time. Then, wait. Then he decided he wanted a little vacation, so he gave it to Brody Lee. He said, "You take this for a little while." Then, like the week after he came back, he just squashed Brody Lee. Like, what is that? I thought you were supposed to be better. You don't need that title. Cody Rhodes does not need a title in AEW to be relevant. But yet, this is what they're doing. And if he would have just fought Brody Lee and lost to him, I would be like, oh yeah, that's a logical answer. But no, he won the title back. But that's what Triple H does, or at least that's what they're criticizing Triple H for doing early on.
Okay, but the TNT title is viewed as the mid-card title in that show. He had the feud with Chris Jericho, and where if he lost, he could never challenge for the AEW championship ever, and he lost, and he has not gone near the actual title that has been only held by, I think, Jericho and Moxley, right? Has anyone else had it?
It's just Jericho and Moxley right now, yeah.
So I mean, like, that's the cream of the crop, and Cody is not allowed to go for it. So like, I think it kind of works.
I guess, but I don't know. It's just like Brody Lee was like gaining a lot of steam, and then like he came back and he was just like, "Nah, I'm gonna take my belt back." Like, I don't know. It just seems hypocritical.
You're allowed to be upset with the booking decision, but I don't think it's fair to like go after him in that sense.
Like, there's just some things about the show that just have seemed hypocritical to me, like things that they like rail on the WWE for and then do it themselves. Like they railed on the WWE for mishandling COVID, and then some of their wrestlers got COVID. It was just like you just made fun of them for running a sloppy shop, and then your wrestlers got COVID. So like, did they now get to tell you you run a sloppy shop? And Vince will never stoop down to that level where he'll let a wrestler cut a promo on AEW. Like anything that'll be said about AEW by a WWE wrestler will be outside of the company, like in an interview, off stage. Like that's the most we'll hear about it. But I don't know. There's just some stuff that bothers me. Like some of the shots that they take. Like, you're doing your own thing. Just build on AEW. Don't build on being the not WWE, because that's really what they are right now. They're like taking pride in being not WWE, and like that's a great selling point for the beginning. But now we're almost a year into this thing. Like, build on being AEW. Be AEW. You know, don't worry about Triple H. Don't worry about WWE and their sloppy shop, especially when you're gonna make the same mistakes. That killed me. That kills me. Like that kind of stuff, like that kills me.
I think you're an AEW hater.
I'm not an AEW hater. You know I love Moxley. You know I love Jericho. And I love those memes, a little bit of the bubbly. I love those memes. And he got his belt stolen and he turned it into something great. Like I'll be the first to say, like the main event scene there has been excellent. The stuff that they're doing with the big guy and Taz, besides the sloppy shop comment, was really good. I saw a lot of those promos. I think some of the other guys are a little strange, a little weird, but I'm sure I would like them if I watch. You know how I feel about Orange Cassidy and him keeping his hand in the pocket. Very strange, but it's cool. It's definitely cool. I don't know. Like, I'm sure if I watched it a little bit more, I would like it. But honestly, I can't even watch the third WWE show. So a fourth wrestling show a week, that might be a little bit much for me. But I know that some people just absolutely love it and can't get enough of it. So I'm not judging whatsoever.
Okay.
But okay, we were gonna wrap it up before we talk about it. Maybe we'll do like a whole AEW versus WWE thing, and then you can call me out for my criticisms of the AEW and tell me why it's not fair.
Our out of country viewers that we have, right?
What's that?
Our out of country viewers that you alluded to earlier in the show.
What? Because I was telling them about election week in the United States.
Yeah,
like they didn't already. Like people from other countries have no clue what's going on in the United States.
I know, just the way you said it, that we had to like come to a sad realization that we don't have viewers.
We don't have yet. We don't have viewers yet. But this is the thing. we're going to get huge one day, and people are going to look back on that and be like, oh, Frank and Mark were classic from the beginning. Singers and puns and all that stuff.
Love it.
Like, oh, Frank was doing that background thing since the beginning. You know, he had those weird backgrounds. He even had the one of Becky's bloody nose. All right, we've been rambling on for too long. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you've made it this far, maybe throw us a like, maybe sub to the channel. We're back mostly every week with a wrestling news podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you.